At a red light, a white couple disdainfully noticed a distinguished white man driving a black man in the next car. The black man, feeling uncomfortable, turned away, but the white driver boldly gave the middle finger before speeding off. Soon after, a police car suddenly chased and pulled them over for no apparent reason. The white driver rolled down the window and handed over his license, but the officer didn't even glance at it and ordered him out of the car for a search. The white driver obediently got out, but the officer ignored him and rudely ordered the black man out of the back seat. The white driver rolled his eyes at the officer's rude behavior, but what happened next was even more absurd.
What kind of name is that? It's Italian.
The officer, holding the driver's license, asked the black man for his name. The driver said his name was Tony and threw a right hook, successfully landing himself in jail. However, the black boss, who didn't fight, was also imprisoned. The officer's reasoning was simple. Being black was a crime in itself. This blatant discrimination bothered an intern at the police station, who insisted the chief allow the black man to make a phone call. Unexpectedly, shortly after the call, the police station's phone rang again, and the chief's face turned pale. He hurriedly ordered Tony and the black man to be released. Tony was stunned to see his boss had such connections. On the way out, Tony was excited, thinking he could brag about this for a lifetime. But Boss Tang wasn't happy. As a black musician who had performed at the White House, he worried that asking the Attorney General for help over such a trivial matter might worsen the upper class's view of black people and increase their discrimination. Tony thought Tang was overthinking. In his eyes, Tang, although black, was wealthy, educated, and well-connected, living in a mansion more comfortable than Tony, a laborer. So, there was no need to dwell on racial issues. However, this casual remark angered Tang greatly. Tony realized his mistake and kept quiet, continuing their journey. When they arrived at the venue, Tony found Tang's worries justified. The organizers had deliberately provided a dilapidated piano filled with garbage to humiliate Tang. Tony couldn't believe it and asked the staff if they had brought the wrong piano, as the contract required a Steinway grand piano. But the staff said it wasn't a mistake, as they believed blacks only deserved such pianos. Hearing this, Tony was exasperated and taught the staff a lesson in basic courtesy and respect. Eventually, Tang used a brand new Steinway grand piano for his performance, and the beautiful sound captivated the audience. Tony, though clueless about music, felt proud, thinking the show couldn't have happened without him. The performance ended successfully, with applause lingering in the hall. Tang, who had endured much discrimination, finally smiled. The next day, they continued to the next venue. Upon arrival, they found that Tang was assigned a dirty, all-black motel while Tony, the driver, was put up in a luxurious hotel next door. This baffled Tony, but Tang, accustomed to discrimination, reassured him not to worry. After Tony left, Tang sat in the motel's courtyard, mentally preparing for the upcoming performance. Some black gamblers invited him to join their game, but Tang politely declined, saying he didn't know how.
What, you too high and mighty?
No, let him alone, let him alone. He just afraid of getting that butler uniform a little dusty.
However, their comments about him being different from other blacks hurt him deeply. Distressed, Tang left and went to a bar to drink, only to encounter a group of white thugs, who are hostile and racist. They mock and physically assault him. Outnumbered, Tang is brutally beaten, left bruised and humiliated. Tony later found Tang badly injured, unable to stand, but Tang insisted he was fine. The misunderstanding and mockery from his own people hurt more than his physical pain. Tony couldn't understand Tang's behavior, but, as his driver and bodyguard, he could only drive him to the next venue and protect him from harm. The incident marks a turning point in their relationship. Later on, the tour reaches a pivotal moment when Tang and Tony drive to the final concert, and Tang delivers a powerful performance that garners a standing ovation. This success represents a victory over the racism and adversity they encountered. The two continue their journey together. The following morning, they reached the final stop of the tour. Tang was attracted to a suit in a store window, and Tony encouraged him to try it on since his clothes were soaked from the previous day's rain. Without waiting for Tang's consent, Tony entered the store and asked the clerk to let Tang try on the suit. However, the clerk's attitude changed when he saw Tony hand the suit to Tang. The clerk hurriedly took the suit back and said politely that blacks couldn't try on clothes. Tang, surprised and angry, quickly smiled and left quietly. Tony steps in, gets the clothing, and shows his loyalty to Tang. When they arrived at the venue, the enthusiastic manager led them to a small, narrow storeroom, saying it was Tang's dressing room. Tony was speechless and asked Tang if he wanted to change venues. Tang said it was the last show, so they should just endure it. However, when Tang finished dressing and entered the restaurant, he was told blacks couldn't dine there. Tony intervened, asking why Tang couldn't eat in the restaurant if he was performing on its stage. The manager didn't answer directly but said Tang could order anything for free, but he had to eat in the dressing room. Tang took the menu, hesitated, and then told the manager that he would either eat there or cancel the performance. The manager, stunned, pulled Tony aside and offered him $500 to persuade Tang not to cancel.
Goodbye me.
With all due respect, sir, you wouldn't be in a job like this if you couldn't be bought.
Stop, Tony.
Tang intervened, stopping Tony from solving the problem with violence, as it wouldn't change the manager's view of blacks. However, if Tang refused to perform, Tony wouldn't get paid. Not wanting to trouble his friend, Tang left the decision to Tony. Shocked and moved, Tony refused to sell Tang's dignity for money, glared at the manager, and walked away.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
On the way back, Tony felt guilty because neither he nor Tang got paid. But Tang was happy because he realized it was better to maintain self-respect and be happy than to try changing public perception. They soon returned to New York, just in time for Christmas Eve. Tony invited Tang to spend the holiday with his family, but Tang declined, believing it was inappropriate for a black man to attend a white family's gathering. Before Tony could persuade him, Tang left alone. Tony, frustrated, couldn't understand why Tang still couldn't let go of racial prejudices. Back home, Tony's family welcomed him warmly, but he couldn't enjoy the meal, thinking of Tang alone in his mansion. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Tony, puzzled, opened it to find Tang, dressed in new clothes and carrying a bottle of fine champagne. Though he seemed a bit reserved, Tony was thrilled by his courage. After a hug, Tony introduced Tang to his family, who warmly welcomed him without any prejudice or surprise. Tang sighed in relief. Tang finally met Tony's wife, Dolores, who thanks Don for helping Tony with the letters he sent her during their trip, recognizing the positive impact Don had on Tony. Realizing that barriers were invisible walls that could be overcome by taking brave steps to see a broader world.